Alrighty, let's try this video again. So, here, I'll just let it play out a bit, and then, we'll break it down as I do.
Regarding the inequity that I talked about with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, that is wealth that is passed down, and it's documentable wealth. The same way that the wealth created, or the wealth stolen as a product of slavery, was also documentable wealth. We have numbers that demonstrate precisely how much wealth was stolen, and that's money that in some way could be given back. Now, if we're saying that it's absolutely impossible to give that money back because it's too hard to trace, we'd have to give money to the African tribes, we'd have to give money to people who are no longer exist. That's absolutely fine, but we have to understand that we haven't really come to terms with that injustice that's been perpetrated, and if we are admitting that no one is perfectly entitled to absolutely everything that their ancestors had stolen from them, then we also have to accept that there are people today who benefit from the fact that their parents and grandparents profited from this immoral system. And the way to deal with that is with a social safety net that enables everyone to thrive.
Okay, so he was a bit shaky, a bit, all over the place, baby. But his main point is okay. So it started out a bit about reparations, but I, as well as I think he got around to explaining there, am not. It's not that I'm against reparations. I don't think reparations will help everyone who's necessarily affected. So some families came after slavery but still had to deal with the negative consequences of racism and the negative consequences of post-slavery in America. And, I don't want to not help them just because, oh, well, your family wasn't here soon enough. So it's a little more inclusive for everyone who needs it to make a, as he said, social security net or whatever, for everyone who is impoverished. And that will actually benefit some white people, Mexican people, people of all ethnicities. And yeah, I think he did a decent job of making that point. But here's the thing. Dinesh is a professional misunderstander on purpose. It's a weird title, I know, but he essentially is going to misconstrue that last point where he was pointing out that, okay, if we're not going to acknowledge that some people got negatively affected by slavery, then what do we do about the positive effects of slavery? Are those people still entitled to that if the people who are negatively affected not entitled to some amount of reparation or fix and blah blah blah? What Dinesh is going to do now is pretend he suggested that we rally up and go steal 1/5 of every white person's stuff and give it to a black family, which is not at all what he suggested. A more good faith interpretation of what he suggested is, hey, let's all pay a little bit more in taxes to help the impoverished with some kind of social program, be that UBI or, something just a little more complex than what we have, because what we have doesn't seem to be working as well as we would like it to be. And in no way is that suggesting that only white people pay that. It's not suggesting that only the top percent pay that. It's suggesting that everyone pays a bit more to help the impoverished. Not so much that it makes other people impoverished. That would be counterproductive and against the point. So obviously a reasonable amount, but when it is a collective thing, it is more impactful. And, you know, if we're going to have government, it might as well be there to help people not starve. That's like the true libertarian fucking take. But, yeah. And then Dinesh is going to say, like, oh, you want to steal from white people, but you don't have the balls to do it, which is just aggravating beyond belief, because it's like, dude, he wasn't suggesting we do that to begin with. And then what a lot of Republicans do is say, well, why don't you personally, you know, do more charity? And here's the thing. We don't know how much fucking charity this guy does. We have no idea if his whole life is doing charity or if he fucking doesn't do charity at all. We don't know that. So that's just some like weird kind of projection that he's putting on to them. And because, again, when you can just pretend the person is a piece of shit, you can argue whatever you want against them, I guess. But, yeah, he's saying, like, one, he's pretending he's not also willing to pay the taxes that he's suggesting we all pay, which in no way did this man imply that he wouldn't also pay. Like, that's just ridiculous. And then the idea that one person or a set number of people should have to burden the entire charity of helping the impoverished people when that should be the government's job is just ridiculous. It's just fucking stupid. It's like, oh, you want roads? Well, why don't you personally slap on some fucking pavement spreading boots and put down some pavement if you want a fucking road there? It's like, no, that's what taxes are for. We pay taxes to have the government do shit like that, and oh my god.
I'll leave you there.
Now, the first thing I'm trying to say is this is a hugely controversial principle because it actually involves wrecking the freedom of a free society. You basically have to put it frankly, if we were to carry that out, go into people's homes and take their stuff, take their furniture, take their cars. You don't seem to have even the guts to do that. You don't
like, see, okay, no one suggested that we go into people's houses and take their furniture and stuff. That's just... Okay, either Dinesh really doesn't know how fucking taxes work, how governments work, or like anything like that, or he's being insanely dishonest and trying to say that's what the other person said, knowing damn well that's not what they said. So it's either you're a fucking idiot or you're a liar, bro. Which is it? That's all Republicans are. They're fucking either idiots or liars. And then like the whole like, you don't have the balls to go and steal my couch. It's like, no one's suggesting that we steal your couch, but if you're gonna like try to fucking be all macho and shit, like what the fuck, do you want me to come and try to steal your couch? Are you like baiting me into it? Like, what are you talking about? I don't even want your couch. I have nowhere to put it. There's no room in my fucking, like, no, keep your fucking couch, bro. Just pay a little more in taxes to help impoverished people. That's all we're suggesting. Oh my god. And like, oh, you don't have the balls. It's like, I have the balls to vote for that, yeah? Everyone has the balls for that. Like, what are you talking about?
You don't have the moral self-confidence to do it yourself. It may be, if I am advocating a rule of social justice and I'm advocating it for the whole society, before I persuade everybody else, let's say I'm a Christian and I believe everybody should give 10% of their wealth to help the poor. And I go, you know what? The Bible says this, the Bible says that everybody should give 10% of their wealth to help the poor. And somebody says, Dinesh, are you giving 10% of your wealth? And I'm like, actually, no. But I did do some tutoring.
So, again, in legislation format or whatever, what the student suggested would also affect that person as well. They would end up having to pay that metaphorical or whatever 10% just like everyone else. So to call them a hypocrite for that is nonsense. When if someone is like, hey, I'll pitch in 10%, let's all pitch in 10%, and then you go on that rant of like, oh, well, what about the Christian man who wants 10%? And then you ask, did you do 10%? No, I tutor. It's like, okay, but I said I'm willing to pay the 10% too. That's the whole point of the fucking legislation. Like, so you're literally just purposely misunderstanding it. That or you're accidentally misunderstanding it, which, I mean, I'm sorry, it wasn't that hard to understand, but okay.
And you go, wait a minute, aren't you advocating, aren't you saying that there is a moral duty to do this? Why don't you do it? Before you convince us, you do it. And you're like, I don't think I should do it because society is extremely complex, and I don't think I should do it unless everybody else does it. No.
Alright, again, dude, go pave your own fucking roads. Put out your own fires. Don't call the cops. I mean, I don't call the cops, but you look like a cop calling kind of guy. Yeah, anything that taxes goes for, don't use then. Oh, you want to use that though, don't you? But you don't want to pay it's like, dude, you don't have an opinion. It's like anything that helps you is like, oh, that's fine. That's not really socialism in any way. But if it helps, someone who's not white, fuck that idea. I'm against that. It's like, dude, why? Because, oh my. Again, you cannot. So charity exists. We all realize this, correct? Charity exists. You know what else still exists? Poverty. So, the whole, oh, you go do it. Here's the thing. That person might already be doing everything they can as far as charity goes. Everything in their power as a citizen of the United States. You know what can do a lot more, though? What would definitely help? If the government did something. And, sorry if you have to pay fucking 1% more on your fucking taxes so that some people are a little more comfortable and not, hungry at night. Like, fucking Jesus.
Either you believe in it and you do it. Once you've done it, you might impress us. And then you might convince the rest of us that our wealth is also ill-gotten.
Okay. So, why don't you, by yourself, do it, which is not going to be helpful enough on any scale larger than maybe, like, one family. And then maybe we'll all feel like, a little inclined to do the same thing, even though that would probably throw yourself into poverty, defeating the whole fucking purpose of... It's like, no, that's what the government is there to do. And, like, you're not, like, no one's suggesting that we take your shit. No one's suggesting that you pay so much that it puts yourself into poverty. It's literally just a couple more percents, and it helps a bunch of people. It's not that fucking hard.
But you can't do it, and I'm not trying to indict everybody of hypocrisy, only you. Because you're the one who said, I'm the beneficiary of illicit privilege. So you're a really good starting point, because I'm asking, if you're in possession of stolen goods, why aren't you willing to...
So, again, he is not advocating that we take anything from white people. It's not at all his argument. But yet you keep going back to, well, why don't you give all your stuff up? And it's like, well, because that's not even remotely close to what I advocated for. And it's like, yeah, I'll pay a little bit more in taxes. Me doing it alone isn't going to help anything. But it's just like, he argues from the standpoint of like, I don't really get how taxes work, and I don't like paying them, so fuck you. And it's like, that's not an opinion, though. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if we could keep all our money, and we lived in a world where, you know, roads were just already on the fucking streets or whatever, and no one was starving, and everything just fucking worked magically. But that's not the fucking world we live in. Shit needs to get done. Shit needs to get paid for. So, you know, you have the government kind of set up programs to do that shit, and they take a percentage of your taxes to pay for that. It actually creates jobs too. You should be for that.
to return them. So that's why fundamentally I see your charity. You know, during the Civil War, there was a guy who goes, I'm very happy to give, I've given 3 cousins to the war, and I'm ready to sacrifice my wife's brother. That's basically your ethics.
No, it's not, though. Like, that's like some bullshit, like weird anti-politician rhetoric. But no, saying I'm willing to pay more taxes if everyone has, that's not at all the same fucking thing. That's so fucking stupid.
You're willing to have social justice if other people pay, but you're not willing to pay. So that's the problem. And that's the problem with the progressivism that marches behind social justice while protecting its own privileges. You know how you said, we all have to survive. Really? You have to be at Amherst to survive?
Alright, yeah, this is stupid. This is so fucking stupid. And then he tries to, I think, call him a hypocrite for being in college. And it's like, okay. Like, being in college has nothing to do with the conversation, but okay. You're just clutching at straws to try to call someone a hypocrite. It's really cringy watching a almost 40, probably over 40-year-old man who has the entire stage and the power in the situation get wrecked by a fucking... What was that kid, like fucking 17? And he, like, didn't even get the question out that solidly. And then he fucking goes into all-out panic mode and tries to fucking personally attack a fucking child. It's like, alright, buddy. Go sit down. Yep, your vote is just as fucking valid as mine. I know. It's annoying. I hate Republicans, dude. And I'm willing to debate this bullshit. It's just... nothing productive is gonna happen in a conversation with this man. He's not gonna listen to anything I say. He's just gonna wait for something he can fucking blurt nonsense out on. And then try to be like, oh, look, I own this fucking SJW. It's like, bro, okay. It's really not worth it. But it's more just for, like... I would love to, in the moment, be like, alright guys, see, this is what this is. This is called gaslighting. This is why this is stupid. And, like, it would be fun. But other than that, fucking Republicans are stupid.